Thank you for tuning in and welcome to the second episode of building the OpenSource-Odyssey website. In today's video, we will introduce some quality of life packages, namely Prettier, to make our general development workflow easier. And first, we're going to start with Prettier. For those of you that don't know, Prettier is a package that you can install in your JavaScript, TypeScript projects that automatically formats your code. This is the website of Prettier. You can find it under Prettier.io. And fortunately, if we look over to our package.json of the payload project that we initialized in the last video, you can see that we already have Prettier installed as a development dependency because we don't need it in our final resulting build package. So like I said, Prettier helps for your code to look consistent, and to my mind this makes it easier to work with the code, to spot errors easier, and it's generally just nice to have this consistency. In this video I want to install and configure Prettier with two plugins. One plugin for automatically sorting the imports at the top of our file, and the other plugin for automatically sorting our Tailwind classes. And again, this just makes it easier to work with the code and spot errors sooner. To start with, I want to take a look at the Prettier rc.json that already came with our project when we initialized it. In here we have 4 lines saying that we want to use single quotes where possible, that we want to always have a trailing comma, that our line width should be 100 characters long, and that we don't want to have the semicolons at the end of the files. This is a very sensible configuration in my opinion, especially the trailing comma and the semi-false makes it so that refactoring the code, moving lines around is just a lot easier, and we don't have to watch out, for example, for missing commas. So let's take a first look at the first plugin that we want to install. As I mentioned, Prettier in general is already set up in the payload project. But the first plugin that I always like to install is this Trivago Prettier plugin sort imports. Here I am on the GitHub page for this project, and if you scroll down a little bit, we can already see what the benefit of this is. So first up, we have some imports. This may look familiar to you, and they are all over the place. We have some imports from React, some from our own package, I guess, here from a relative path, and so on and so forth. And with this plugin, we can make them look super clean and nice like this. So we have our third-party packages at the top. Then we have from our own project at the @server directive or @core, @UI, and then finally the relative paths. So this is very nice, and we want to have this in our project for sure. To install this, I'm going to copy this entire line right here. And then I'm going to cd into our project, and I'm going to paste this command and make sure to append the P at the start, since we are using p-npm for this project. Now with the plugin installed in our development dependencies, we can continue. Reading through the documentation, you can see that it's very easy to add this plugin to our Prettier config. All we have to do is add this plugins. So let's come here and add the plugins. This is the first step. The second step would be to configure how we want this plugin to be used. And for this, I'm going to copy these 3 lines right here. So come in here, add a comma, add the imports. To understand the lines that we just copy and pasted, let's read through the documentation here. So we have our import order. This is basically looking at the from path in the imports, so whatever is back here, and with the regex tries to match this pattern. And then what we are saying is first we want to have the core packages, then the server packages, then the UI packages, and finally all of the relative packages. So if we want to also explicitly change the position of third-party modules, you could add this magic string right here, and then we would first have our core packages and then all of the rest. Let's keep our personal configuration of this plugin fairly simple. So we won't have any core packages. In fact, the only alias that I want to provide here is the add, because this is going to reference the source of our project. So whatever is in the source folder here. And so we can remove basically the rest. And let's also leave this relative match right here, so that if we absolute from an absolute position within our project, we have this pattern, and for all of the rest, we have the relative pattern. And naturally, the third-party modules will be at the top of the file. So let's give this a save. So when you have this file saved, let's quickly look through the other documentation that we have here. So we say our order separation is true. This basically means that we want to have a new line separation between all of our imports. And the import order sort specifier is also set to true. And this means we basically enable or disable the sorting of the specifiers we have here, I guess. And that's all we need to do for the Prettier plugin sort imports configuration. Now let's quickly move on to the second plugin that we will install, which is the Tailwind classes sorting. Again, here I am on the GitHub page of this particular project, and we get again a very nice installation command that we are going to copy, pop our terminal, paste it, add the P at the start, and hit install. Now with this out of the way, let's also take a look at the configuration. For this, it's very minimal. We only need to add this to our plugins array. Since we already have our plugins array, I'm going to come to the end here and paste what we have in the clipboard and give this file a save. And that's as far as the configuration and installation of our quality of life tools goes. Now, what we want to have is a nice command to actually execute this Prettier configuration over all of the files of our project. For this, let's come into the package.json and let's go to the script section. Inside of here, we already have a lint fix command. So this will execute the next lint with the fix flag. And here we want to also add to execute Prettier. And the way we do this is we just add 2 ampersand signs. So this means when the first command executes successfully, we want to execute another command, which is to execute Prettier at the current location we are at. So this is for the dot. And then we actually want to change the lines in each of the files for our code project, so that they are consistent with our Prettier style guide. So for this, we need to pass the right flag. Let's give our package.json a save. And with this, I can come in here and execute the script. So pnpm lint fix, enter. What this will do is it will go through all of the files in our project, and for each of the files, apply the Prettier rules that we have defined, as well as the plugins that we just installed. So if I now view the changes in my Git history, you can see that 113 files were changed, so quite a lot. But let's see as an example what has changed. So inside of here, the footer component that was provided by our default Tailwind installation, we can see it removed this import for the get cache global, which is coming from our source folder and the utilities folder. So it would be right here. And then in the get globals. So in this file, according to our rules, this should not be at the top of the file. What should be at the top of the file is the import from Next and from React, because those are third-party modules. So it has removed these 3 lines and added them at the bottom, as you can see here. This is great. This is exactly what the Trivago sort import plugin should do. Next, if we come down to the Tailwind classes, we can also see there was some changes going around. So this text white moved from the end of our class name string to the second to last position. And the reason why I think this plugin is so powerful is because if you apply a class name or a Tailwind utility class that doesn't exist, it will come to the very front of the class name string, and it will make it way easier to spot, for example, typos or classes where you just made up something that doesn't really exist. So I'm feeling quite confident that all of the changes that were made are correct. So I will stage all of these changes and create a commit. And let's say we refactored. And what we did is Prettier with new configuration. Let's commit this and push this to our remote origin. Paste the password for our SSH key. And with this, we have made a new commit to our repository where we have refactored quite a lot with actually doing very little work. And this is going to pay dividends going forward, because when we are looking for a certain import, then we always know where to look for it. So again, thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something. Of course, what I showed you here can be applied to any TypeScript or NextJS project, so it's not specific to Payload. See you in the next one. Onwards, cypherpunks.